Hi, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm Dr. Cedric Wood, and I have something to say about these shootings. In less than a week, we had two horrible, horrific shootings. One in Florida and one in Denver, Colorado. You all heard about it. How tragic is that? And as always, since Columbine, the news media were asking, what was the motivation? The motivation has yet to be discovered in why either young man, both 21, would walk in with a gun and start shooting and killing people. It's just so tragic, so senseless. And so far, days later, no one has come up with the motivation yet. We've seen the young man in Denver appear in the courtroom, but we have started addressing the problem. How? With gun control, as always, again. That makes perfect sense, but that's not going to stop the shootings. The guns don't kill anybody on their own. It takes a person with a certain personality to pull the trigger. So I'm very disappointed that once again, here we are. It's happened over and over again, and no one, as far as I can see, I can't watch every news channel all day long, every day, but the ones that I've watched so far have failed to try to analyze these two young men. What's going on with them? Dr. Bruce Perry out of Houston will tell you something happened to them, something traumatic. It could have been a traumatic event or two or three growing up, or it could have been just a chronic wearing away of their self-esteem by adults, usually the parents, who just don't understand that how they are interacting with their child is slowly causing that child to grow a personality which is full of anger and eventually becomes full of hate. And so when you see that, like Patrick Crusius, just north of here in Dallas, driving all the way to El Paso, he was involved online with these hate groups and hate speech. Okay, but that's not the cause. That involvement is the result of something going on in the inside, just like driving to El Paso and shooting 22 people, killing 22 people, was the result of something that happened to him throughout his childhood. And his father is pretty open. There's a number of articles online that show what he had to endure growing up. So I am adamant again that we have to get information to the parents about how to raise a child so that they're happy and healthy and they have no drive and no desire to go out and kill anyone. Not at a party, not at some gang involvement, not at a store, a school, or an office building. No one. And yet we're not getting that information out. I'm as concerned about the deadness of the adults in America as I am concerned about the trauma in the hearts of these children. What is wrong with the adults of America that they are so small-minded that all they can look at is the immediate events, of course, and then the gun control and maybe security measures, and so very little understanding how children develop poorly. It's in scads, thousands of books, textbook chapters, and research articles clearly showing the connection between childhood experiences and adult personality. I'm reading a book called Narcissism and Machiavellianism in Youth, led by Christopher T. Berry, Dr. Berry, and 3 others. I am so impressed with her book. I hope that they'll call me after they've seen this video. The book is just brilliantly done, and it draws over and over again the connection between childhood experience, and so often that's, of course, controlled or created by the parents, and the adult personality. When are we going to dedicate ourselves in getting this information to the millions and millions of parents of America whose job it is to make sure they interact with their children in such a way that when their children are 10, 15, 20, 21, and 30 and 40, so that they feel calm and centered, happy, with good, solid self-esteem? When are we going to do that? Well, the most obvious thing I've been pushing for years, and that is for a class in every high school in Texas and America, teaching child development, healthy personality development, healthy relationships, healthy communication, healthy parenting, and of course, healthy lifestyles. When are we going to introduce that into our schools? There are some classes out there, mostly I've heard in private schools. Well, good for them. There's lots of classes in psychology in the public schools, good, but there's so much information just from the very academic world of psychology. That's not what that 16-year-old needs. They need real information about how to create a happy life, and that's so often the result of a healthy relationship with mom, dad, boyfriend, girlfriend, etc. Well, if I'm not going to be listened to with getting this class in every high school, let me try this approach. At least we need to pass a law that mandates a psychosocial history for every shooter that we see in the news. Now that's just for starts. There's all kinds of criminal acts being committed across America. And every single one of those young men have a psychosocial history. In fact, you have one, I have one. And you could attach a score to the psychosocial history, which is just a psychological way of saying your life story. And if you score a 10, that means things have gone very well in your life, and you've ended up being 15 or 25 or 35, and you're functional, and you're excited about your life, and you have good self-esteem. You're healthy. But a lot of people don't have good experiences in childhood, and so they score a 6 or a 5 or a 4 or a 3. And there's no doubt in my mind that these 2 young men, 21 years old, who went in and one killed 8, one killed 10, probably had to score no higher than a 2. That's so low. And how do we know what anybody scores? By asking them questions about their childhood and their relationship with mom, dad, brother, sister, grandparents, and the rest of the community. Ask them questions. We do it all the time in psychiatric hospitals. Why aren't we doing it with the young people who are committing these crimes? I'm sure there's a lot of people are saying, we dig into that. They had somebody stand up in the court the other day for the Denver shooter and say, we're going to take 3 months to discover whether he's mentally ill or not. Well, he's not mentally healthy, that's for sure. Now, he may not be mentally ill in the traditional sense of schizophrenia, bipolar, schizoaffective disorder, or deep depression. But he's definitely emotionally ill. Glenn Wilkerson of the wonderful organization called ARC, Adults Relating to Kids, clearly makes the point in his writings that a child can be emotionally ill even though he's not mentally ill. So if people are uncomfortable with calling these young people mentally ill, okay, it doesn't matter what you call them. What matters is that we recognize they're not well, they're not healthy, and then recognizing where that comes from. If we could do a psychosocial history for everyone, whether it's a school shooter or it's the young man who was inebriated and on icy roads drove at a high rate of speed north on 75 right here in Dallas a few weeks ago, slamming into a car on the side of the road, disabled car, killing a wonderful, young, healthy husband and father-to-be police officer in that act. It's unthinkable, just dysfunction of the brain and the personality. And do you think we're going to get a report now that we've gone in and done a psychosocial history and found out where was his father, where was his mother, what were their personalities like, what was their interactional style? No, we're not going to learn that. We're going to not learn that at all. And so the parents that are out there doing the same thing to their kids will continue being clueless. What we're doing is, okay, well, that's just the way I am. Well, that's the way my parents treated me, so I'm good to go, right? No, you're not good to go. You need to read a parenting book or 2 or 3 and attend parenting classes. Your child is headed toward depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, homicidal thoughts and behaviors because of your inadequate parenting. I'm speaking firmly, I'm speaking clearly. When are the representatives and the senators and the lieutenant governors and the governors and the president going to sit up and pay attention and take notice and do something? Forget the guns. We've got to get to the childhood experiences of the children of America to solve this ultimately for the future. Thank you for tuning in. I am Dr. Cedric Wood. Send me a card, send me a letter, call me, text me, email me. I'm interested in your ideas and your response. Thank you for listening.